Hello, hello, and hello. Welcome back to another episode of TA with MK. My name is MK, and in today's episode, we're just going to go over quickly the SPX and the FOMC meeting that's tomorrow, what's on the table as far as that goes, and what we would expect out of the SPX and the Bitcoin price, depending on what kind of news comes out, some price targets that I would be eyeing to the upside, and more specifically to the downside, if this dump continues a bit further, what I would be eyeing for my next level to DCA into my long-term portfolio, things of that nature. And if you guys are liking the content, please remember to like and subscribe. I also wanted to mention to click the link in the description to join my Telegram group. Our community is growing a bit bigger each and every day, and I appreciate the people that are in there so far. So stop in, say hi, check out our charts that we're posting, some of our TA and the things that we're watching. And always remember that you can make money going up and going down in the market. So, if you have a portfolio and you've taken some losses, do remember that you can gain some of that back if you can learn to trade the market both ways. And again, please remember to like and subscribe, and let's dive in. It's TA with MK. It's TA with MK. All right, so we are on the 4-hour SPX or S&P 500 chart that we start out on most days. But today I just want to quickly just explain for those that aren't maybe up to speed on the whole FOMC thing. So the FOMC have 8 scheduled meetings a year, right? And I'm going to read to you basically what their purpose is. I've even put it here on this chart. The FOMC holds 8 regularly scheduled meetings per year. At these meetings, the committee reviews economic and financial conditions, determines the appropriate stance of monetary policy, and assesses the risks to its long-run goals of price stability and sustainable economic growth. All right, and so what does this mean in a nutshell? Well, if we come over here to this federalreserve.gov website, it shows you that we've had 1, 2, 3 so far for the year. So this will only be the halfway point tomorrow, Wednesday, which it says the 14th and 15th. Now the 15th being the key date here in the US anyways, the 15th is Wednesday, which is tomorrow. And that will be the date that they announce what the rate hike will be, or if there'll be one, I should say, but everyone obviously expects there to be one. They've mentioned over the last couple of meetings that 0.5 or 0.5% can be kind of the expectation for the next several meetings. The beginning of the year, back in January, and I believe for sure in March anyway, I know it was just a 0.25% one. May, they did a 0.5, which obviously saw stocks take a pretty big pullback. People were saying that they were expecting 0.25. 0.5 was definitely something that they knew was on the table, but that caught the market kind of off guard to a degree. And then this one for tomorrow, I think people are expecting a 0.5, and in a lot of cases, the market's already priced that in, which is a big reason why stocks have been pulling back for the last, several days to a week. Bitcoin following, of course. However, there are rumors, or there is the potential at least, that they could do a 0.75% or a 75 basis points rate hike tomorrow, which would definitely catch the market off guard yet again, as far as it'd be hawkish, as they say, which is the opposite of dovish, just the two terms they say as far as being overly aggressive or, being the opposite of that. And if they come out a little more hawkish than the market expects, which is the 0.5, and they actually do 0.75, then that would be the catalyst back over here to the SPX of this support not holding. It's already at this support, dipping its toes below it just a little bit, acting like it kind of wants to drop. I think the market's just kind of in a wait-and-see mode. And I really think that whoever comes out tomorrow will determine that. And that's pretty obvious, right? So it's hard with TA right now to say, hey, this will bounce this way or this will break down, because to be honest with you, I don't think any short-term move in the next hour, which is how much longer the SPX has to be open today at the time of making this video anyway. And I don't think anything's going to really matter until tomorrow. So when that news comes out tomorrow, we'll have a better clarity as what to expect out of Bitcoin. And I will hop over in just a moment and show you that chart to kind of give some scenarios of either direction depending on what news comes out. But I wanted to quickly just show you, kind of going back to yesterday, that we do have this support level that's bounced on the SPX has bounced on twice previously, and that was the level I was referring to that we could see a short-term bounce. But I just want to clarify today that it's going to be more determined on what that meeting, what the results of that meeting are tomorrow. So we'll wait for Colin Powell to come out and let us know, hey, is it going to be 0.5, which is still not a good thing, but the market's more or less prepared for that at this point. Or if it's a 0.75, then most certainly we will lose the support level, and we'll most likely head down here at some point over the next few days, or at least throughout this next week, to visit this a little bit stronger area of support, in my opinion at least, this area that dates back to September of 2020, where it was resistance, and then eventually we flipped to support. And ever since then, you know, we've went on our crazy run up to our all-time highs. And I just think that would be a level that if the 0.75 rate hike comes out, that we're most likely going to start trending down towards that. And what would that mean for Bitcoin? Now, this is just a 15-minute zoomed in chart, which isn't really going to be relevant as far as what happens tomorrow in the bigger picture scheme of things. But, you know, I've just kind of been looking for clues. This is a chart I just posted in my Telegram group, which as always, I'll leave a link in the description for. But more or less, I was just tracking a couple of different potential patterns here. We had this large falling wedge that broke to the upside. You know, that 68% chance it would do so, and it did. However, what you're looking for whenever a wedge breaks to the upside to remain bullish, at least in my opinion, or from a statistical standpoint, is if you take the swings, whatever the last swing high was inside the wedge, once it breaks out, you want to see a higher high than that. So you have like this high up here, right? Low, high, and we'll just call this all one swing to low. We would want to see the breakout of the wedge go higher than, in this case, about 24,000, 150. Otherwise, it's more likely that it's just going to go back down and put in an even lower low than this last low in the wedge. It's basically just a failure, a pattern failure. So right now I've been kind of tracking the symmetrical triangle, which when I posted this in my group a bit ago, it was still inside of the triangle. Now it looks like it is breaking to the downside. It was running out of a room, as I said in my that I posted in the group, and just said this is the downside measured move, this is the upside. So I just wanted to share that with you really quickly before I give us a more longer term analysis based on what happens tomorrow. But just inside of this shorter term time frame, if this does end up validating as a break to the downside, which would be validated by this, breaking down, which it already is, but then a retest bearishly somewhere back up here and then continue to trend down, your downside measured move based on these patterns is somewhere between around 19,700-ish to around 20,300-ish. So that's something I'll be looking for over the course of the next 24 hours. And then to the upside, if for some reason this were to be a bear trap, which is something I talked about in yesterday's video, when you lose support but then you regain it, then this little area where it lost support is just considered a bear trap. In that case, the upside measured move would be somewhere between about 24,850 and about 25,300. So something to keep an eye on. Now, I'm not going to make any price predictions or anything like that in this video, but just to finish up, I want to quickly explain kind of what I would be looking for if the SPX breaks to the downside. And maybe just briefly what I would maybe expect if it breaks to the upside, of course, as well. But to the downside, I'm over here looking at the SPX. And if we lose this support level and we go back down here to the 0.5 retrace level from the COVID crash, that's when you take the swing high or the swing low from the COVID crash to the all-time high. If we come back down to this blue area that I have marked, that would be a 0.5 or 50% retrace, right, from this low here to that high to get back to this major level I was discussing. Well, that doesn't work to use that same thing on Bitcoin because obviously Bitcoin has retraced a lot further than that already, which is to be expected. There's not nearly as much money flowing in Bitcoin, obviously, as there is the S&P 500, and so its moves are more exaggerated, right? And it's kind of it's a risk-on asset, so it's already dumped well past its 0.5 ever since early May, right? That would have been the around 36,000 area. So we can't use that, but what I was thinking we could do, just to come up with an idea, is we look at what the price was for Bitcoin around the time that this blue area of support was when it was previous resistance, when it broke out, which would have been November-ish. In fact, we'll say mid-November of 2020. Well, what was Bitcoin's price at that time? Well, if I come back here to this candle, which would be right around here, mid-November, you were between about 17,000, it looks like, even 16 actually. Between 16 and 19 is kind of the price range that we floated in during the month of November back in 2020. Now, obviously, if we're holding that as support, I would think we'd go to kind of more to the end of the month, because I'm sure when that bounced as support, that's when Bitcoin shortly followed the SPX and then went on this crazy run, right? So maybe somewhere around 19K. So somewhere, I would just take an average of all that, and we'll say somewhere between 17 and 19K would not be shocking to me. And I'd be eyeing that obviously as an area for a bounce. I'd also be eyeing that as a significant area to add to my long-term investment for Bitcoin. That would represent about a 5% drop, I do believe, for the SPX if it were to lose the support and drop down to that next blue level. And for Bitcoin, I want to say it'd be about 3 times that. Something like a 15% drop, obviously, from this point to go back down to, say, 18K, 18,000-ish. Yeah, about 15% to go to about 18,500. So these are the levels I would keep in mind or keep an eye out for to the downside if, the rate hike news is bad tomorrow and stuff, further drops. To the upside, obviously, I would imagine that at some point, if we break to the upside, we'd want to retest this area of around 26K that we lost. If we could flip that, then of course the big weekly area that we talked about in previous videos of around 29K, those would be my upside targets, at least over the course of the next few days to a week or two, if things turn bullish suddenly. So keep those targets in mind, and I thank you so much for sticking around until the end of the video. If you guys are liking the content, please remember to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you tomorrow. It's TA.